Okay, this is our third lecture. It's on section P5 in our book. We're going to talk about multiplying and factoring polynomials. You guys should remember the distributive rule. If you have 2x times 3x plus 1, you would distribute this in through and multiply. And when you multiply with variables, you multiply the numbers out front of the variable and then you multiply the variables together. So 2 times 3 makes a 6, and x times x is an x squared. X squared means you have x times x. We'll talk about powers in just a second. And 2x times 1, we have a plus 2x, because 1 times anything is itself. And here we have two different powers, so we can't combine these two terms, they just stay separate. So let's talk about what happened with this x squared. What it means to be a power, if you have a to the n means take a, multiply it by itself, a total count of n times. And so, for example, if I had 2 cubed, that means 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. Let's talk about how to multiply together if you have a 2x squared times a 3x cubed. Now again, when you're multiplying with variables, you take the numbers out front, you multiply those together. So 2 times 3 gives you a 6. Then you have x squared times x cubed. Well, if you can't remember what to do with those powers, you end up adding them. It becomes x to the 5th. And let's talk about why that is. If you have x squared, that means x times x. If you have times x cubed, well, x cubed is x times x times x. And so you have x times x times x times x times x. And so altogether you have 5 x's. That's why it became an x to the 5th. So when you're multiplying variables, you add the exponents of the variable. Okay, so let's do a quick example of multiplying a polynomial, 2x plus 1 times 2x minus 1. And here, when you have two polynomials multiplied together where each of them has two terms, we're going to use a method that's called FOIL. You've probably heard of it before, but I'm going to say it a lot. FOIL means take your first times first. So first times first, outer times outer, inner times inner, and last times last. Okay, so if I'm going to FOIL this, I'm going to do first times first. 2x times 2x, well, the 2's multiply together and make a 4. X's multiply together make x squared. Then I'm going to do outer times outer. So 2x times, and bring the sign with it. So 2x times a negative 1. You get negative 2x. Then do inner times inner. So you get 1 times 2x, and it's a positive. Not 1x, 2x. 1 times 2x is a 2x. And then last times last, the last one in this one times the last one in that one. Positive 1 times negative 1, you get a negative 1. Now here, when we want to combine it, we want to simplify once we're done. We want to combine our like terms. We only have one x squared term, and that was our 4x squared. Then we have a minus 2x and we have a plus 2x. Those two actually cancel each other out. Minus 1 plus 1, 0. Minus 2 plus 2, 0. So it doesn't matter that there's an x there. Minus 2x plus 2x cancel each other out. Then we have minus 1, and this would be our final answer. We've FOILed that and come up with our simplified answer. Okay. Then if we have a longer, let's say we have a trinomial. Trinomial just means it's a polynomial that has 3 terms. So we're going to start with 2x squared plus 3x minus 1. And we want to multiply that by a binomial, which has it's a polynomial that has 2 parts, binomial 2 parts, trinomial 3 parts. Okay, so we're multiplying these two together. And here, all you have to do when you're multiplying polynomials is make sure every part here multiplies every part here. So this first term has to multiply both terms over here. Our middle term has to multiply both terms over here. And our last term has to multiply both terms over here. And so to begin with, we're going to do 2x squared times 3x. What's 2x squared times 3x? It's going to be 2 times 3, 6, x squared times x. So here you have 2 x's, you have one more x, so you get x to the third. Okay, so we did that. Then 2x squared times 1. So you get a plus 2x squared. Now when you're doing this, you should be trying to follow along, even take notes during these lectures and write down the problems, try to do the problems, pause the lecture, and check to see if you can do it correctly, because it's not going to really sink in unless you try it on your own. Okay, so we're moving to the middle term, and we have a 3x times the first here. 3x times 3x, you do 3 times 3, which is 9. They're both positive, so you get a plus. X times x, x squared. Then you have to do the middle times the last. Everyone forgets that one for some reason. They'll do the middle term times the first one, and then they forget to multiply that one times the last. So don't forget, it has to multiply both. So 3x times 1, you get a 3x. Then you do your last term times both of these. Negative 1 times 3x, you get a negative 3x. Negative 1 times positive 1, you get a negative 1. Okay, so now we've done all of the multiplication, but we still have to combine like terms and simplify. So we look for our highest power is the cubed power. We only have one cubed term, that's a 6x cubed. Then our next highest power is the squared power. We have 2 squared terms, 2x squared plus 9x squared, 2 of something plus 9 of something, you get 11 of that something, and the something is x squareds. Then you have plus 3x minus 3x. 3 minus 3 is 0, so they just go away. You don't have to write 0x, because 0 of anything is 0. You don't write it. And then you have a minus 1 on the end. And this is your simplified answer. 6x cubed plus 11x squared minus 1.